All right, let's dive into one of nature's most unbelievable stories. We're talking about how a tiny marsupial, the red-tailed Phascogale, which starts its life the size of a jelly bean, builds an entire army, its immune system, completely from scratch, but after it's already born.
And that really gets to the heart of it, right? I mean, how do you do that? If you're born totally defenseless, with pretty much no way to fight off even the simplest infection, how do you possibly survive your first day, let alone your first few weeks? It sounds impossible, but as we're about to see, this little creature has an absolutely brilliant plan.
Okay, to really get a sense of the scale of this challenge, just look at this comparison. Over on the right, you have a eutherian mammal, like us. We're born relatively mature, and our immune system is pretty much ready to go from day one. But on the left, you've got the newborn Phascogale. It is radically underdeveloped, we're talking blind, hairless, and most important of all, its adaptive immune system, it basically doesn't exist yet.
So, how on earth does this tiny creature pull it off? Well, its whole existence at birth is just a masterclass in doing only what is absolutely necessary to survive.
I mean, think about it. The only parts of its body that are really working are the ones it needs for one single life-or-death mission. It's got strong little forelimbs, just enough to climb from the birth canal into its mother's pouch. And it has a developed mouth, so it can latch onto a teat. That's it. Everything else, it can wait.
So once it makes that incredible journey, it arrives in its new home, which also happens to be its first line of defense, the pouch. And this is not just some fuzzy carrying case, it's a high-tech, living, breathing life support system.
The mother provides this amazing three-layered shield. First, she gives it a starting boost of antibodies right before birth. Second, the pouch itself is actually lined with antimicrobial compounds. And third, her milk is just packed with powerful immune goodies. So for the first part of its life, the baby Phascogale literally outsources its entire immune system to its mom.
But here's the thing. While it's all cozy and safe inside this biological fortress, there's an incredible internal arms race going on. The little pouch young is working like crazy, building its very own defense system from the ground up. And this timeline just shows you the mind-boggling speed of this whole project. It all kicks off on day 1, with the appearance of the thymus. That's the future boot camp for its immune cells. Just 11 days later, bone marrow starts to form, creating the factory for new recruits. By day 56, the spleen is getting its act together. And by day 105, the command centers and the lymph nodes are fully online. It's like watching a biological army being assembled on a perfectly timed schedule.
Okay, so let's break down how this army is actually put together. Each one of these developing organs has a really specific job. You've got the boot camp for training, the recruitment centers for new soldiers, and then, of course, the battlegrounds where the fighting happens.
First up, you've got the thymus. Now, if the immune system is an army, the thymus is definitely the boot camp. This is the primary training ground for one of the most critical soldiers in that army, the T cells.
And its whole development is just a lesson in biological efficiency. It pops up in the throat on day 1, travels down to the chest by day 7, and works intensely to get mature by day 56. But then, and this is the cool part, once its main job of training that first army of T cells is done, it starts to shrink away after day 70. Mission accomplished.
Okay, so you've got the training ground. Next, you need a recruitment center, right? A factory that can just keep churning out new soldiers? Well, that's the job of the bone marrow.
At first, the liver is handling the job of making blood cells. But at just 12 days old, the first bits of bone marrow show up in the ribs. And this is a huge deal, because the bone marrow is going to take over as the permanent, lifelong source for pretty much all new blood and immune cells.
So you've got your trained T cells, and you've got a factory pumping out new recruits. Now, you need the battlegrounds. These are what we call the secondary lymphoid organs, places like lymph nodes and the spleen, where your immune cells actually meet the enemy and launch an attack.
Think of the lymph nodes like these little intelligence hubs all over the body. You see early versions of them appear as soon as day 5, but they only develop their mature germinal centers, basically the command and control centers for a big response, around day 105. It's perfect timing, right as it's getting ready for independence.
And finally, you've got to have border patrol. The spleen acts like a security checkpoint for the blood, and its main structures are in place by day 56. Then you've got what's called gut-associated lymphoid tissue, or GALT, which pops up in the intestines around day 69. It's basically standing guard against any germs that try to sneak in through what the animal eats.
So all of this incredible, perfectly coordinated development, it's all leading up to one big moment. The point where the young Phascogale is finally ready to face the world all on its own.
And that moment, it happens right around 110 days. This is when the little guy is fully weaned from its mother's milk. You could call it graduation day.
And that's really the key takeaway here, isn't it? In just under 4 months, this tiny animal goes from being completely helpless to having a fully mature, self-sufficient military. The boot camp has trained the soldiers, the recruitment centers are up and running, and the battlegrounds are staffed and ready for action.
You know, when you step back and look at the whole picture, what we're really seeing is a fundamentally different blueprint for survival. Instead of doing all this heavy lifting in the womb, marsupials have perfected this amazing post-birth assembly line.
It's this really elegant 4-step strategy. Step 1, let mom handle defense. Just outsource the whole thing. Step 2, while you're safe, build your training centers and recruitment offices, the thymus and bone marrow. Step 3, get the battlegrounds ready for your army. And finally, step 4, emerge from the pouch completely independent and ready to fight your own battles.
And the researchers who documented all this, they put it perfectly. They said that, yeah, compared to other mammals, newborn marsupials are relatively underdeveloped. But that quote is what makes this so incredible. That very underdevelopment is what forces this amazing journey to happen out in the open, and it's just an extraordinary thing to witness.
It just makes you wonder, right? The Phascogale story is this powerful reminder that there isn't just one right way to solve the fundamental problem of survival. And it really leaves us with this question: what other evolutionary master plans, maybe just as brilliant as this one, are out there hidden in plain sight, just waiting for us to find them?